Dan Willis here, and we're talking about how to raise your credit score. And there are 5 things that are looked at when your credit score is calculated. They include number 1, your payment history. This is responsible for about 35% of your credit score. Number 2 is the amount of debt you have. We're going to look at these in detail here in just a minute. That's about 30% of your credit score. The third type is your types of credit. The fourth indicator is how often your credit is being checked. And then the last one is how old are your accounts. And those last 3 are all 10% with length being about 15%, the very last one. So let's go ahead and start here with this first one, which is 35% roughly. It's the biggest piece of your credit score. It's your payment history. And this is the record of your payments. This is where the negative items on your credit report will count, such as charge-offs, collections, judgments, repossessions, etc. If you are currently paying your bills on time and are working to avoid any new negative entries, then you can improve your payment history. As the bad credit items get older, they will influence your overall credit score less and less. And if we mentioned you're paying your current bills on time, you're creating a record and a trail of positive payment history. You can file a dispute with the credit bureaus to challenge and potentially remove negative information on your credit reports. Once the credit bureaus get your dispute, they will conduct an investigation. If the item cannot be verified with the lender or collection agency, then by law it must be removed from your credit report. The second part, which is roughly 30% of your credit score, is your amount of debt. This is exactly what it sounds like, and it will look at your student loans, if you have a car loan, if you have a mortgage. It will also look to see how much available credit you have, also unused credit. If you can show that you have money that is not being used and that you could use, such as with a credit card, even if you have a $1,000 credit limit and you have $700 of unused available credit, that should help your credit score. Otherwise, it appears that you're in a better financial position. Otherwise, your credit card would be maxed out. The third aspect here we're going to talk about is the types of credit you have. The idea is that the more diverse your borrowing is, you should be seen as a safer risk. This is only 10% of your credit score, and it's not really something we would encourage you to put much effort or focus on. The next fourth part is your credit inquiries, how often your credit is being checked. Obviously, of course, when you go and purchase and finance something, they're going to check your credit. There's a normal, natural number of times your credit will be checked, just in the normal course of life. Just don't go excessively. You just don't want to have your credit checked every other week. That's not going to help your score. And the last item, your length of credit, how old your accounts are. This is about 15%, 10 to 15% of your credit score. And the idea is just it looks at how long you've been using credit, how old each one of the accounts are that you have. In general, the older your accounts and the longer you've been using credit, the better you will appear. The most effective method to raise your credit score is to remove the bad credit items from your credit reports. This section carries the most weight with your credit score, and it is one the federal government has passed federal laws to protect your rights with. The Fair Credit Reporting Act is a piece of legislation that was passed by Congress way back in 1970, and this law gives you the right to dispute any item on your credit reports that you believe is inaccurate or questionable. It also says that the maximum amount of time an item can be on your credit report, typically 7 years. There is no minimum amount of time an item must stay on your credit report. You need to take full advantage of these laws. It's one of the few attempts our government has made to protect consumers instead of looking after private big business interests like the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus have been able to influence Washington and politicians tremendously. One of the big difficulties these days is to get the credit bureaus to deem your dispute valid. If it's not valid, they won't investigate. If you'd like to know some more, please visit the link in the description below to visit an article at our website, yourbadcreditcard.net. This is Dan Willis. We currently have a free report we're giving away at our website, the 7 super simple steps to clean credit. Please like this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please check out some more videos, and looking forward to talking to you again soon.